all these funding initiatives, international sources of funding, we know that lately in recent years there's been a trend from a lot of the big international donors to diversify the management of these funds. For example, to have the target countries be the ones to manage the grants and take in applications and select among the applications. And I was wondering if whether the African Union Commission or if African Bank had like a portal where either us or our partners in African universities could go to find out what sort of funding there would be available that they could apply for. Because in many cases, we find that opportunities are missed simply because we don't know they exist.
Yes, you see, funding has been there in the past. As the African Commission has said, there's so much money available, and yet, the budgets are big, and the fundings are inadequate for the kind of budget that we are talking about. That is why sometimes it has been deemed necessary to go at the country level and get the funding directly to the countries. But then the African Union Commission has started a new initiative, because the African Union Commission has been having much money in the past. The African Development Bank has got, it's a bank actually, because they give loans, they can give grants too, but it's a bank, it's business. So they also have something else that they're doing right now to support the energy initiatives on the continent. Because among they have what they call the high fives, the high five priorities on the New Deal on energy, their program for 2013 to 2022. They have this Kenya New Deal program. Right now, what they are doing is that they are looking at specific issues, problems in Africa on energy, and they're trying to solve it through financing. I'm not sure whether the universities are a priority. That's why I'm emphasizing on that. That they should look at the universities right now and make sure that they get the funding. The African Union has come up with a proposal for African government, which have accepted, that 0.2% of the GDP in taxes and so on should go directly to the African Union to fund its programs. I think 50% of them will go on peace and security, and the other 50% will go on different kinds of social and economic development projects on the continent. So we might want to explore that one also to see how we work in partnership with the European Commission, with the other donors, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and others, to see what we can do to support knowledge generation, research, management in the universities. Because as our colleague was telling us this morning, that is extremely important, and we cannot just sit back and get the politicians to manage all this money, and we don't know where the money is going. We have no coherent policies. We must develop strategies and policies to get, and this is only done through research and other kinds of innovation. Thank you. Can I hear more issues? Yes. Yeah, and then.
Okay. The problem of learning and training main. The electricity industry need professional, and the education system in Africa is very low for the professional education. It's a great problem for the company to find personal training, and it's a great risk for the development of sector of electricity. And this problem is no treaty by the government in parallel to investment in production. It's a problem. And other problem is disequilibrium of system of electricity. Problem of tariff, problem of governance. There are a lot of state company and with weak performance, operational performance, financial result. It's a second problem for the development of capacity and to maintain this capacity, the new capacity, and the network to develop the access of electricity. It's a two great problem.
Yeah, I know. We have a lot of problems in capacity in Africa. In fact, a lot of companies, private companies that work in Africa, have talked about this. You see, the problem is that our education system is so bad. It's been bad since independence. And it's only now that we are trying to change that right now. At the level of the African Union, level of the United Nations, we are trying to prepare young people with the relevant skills, so that people like your company, you can employ them, and if they are fitted with the type of skill they need, for them to work in the energy sector, in the electricity generation and so on. Right now, but it will take time. Maybe next 5 years, maybe next 10 years, you will start to see highly qualified Africans. And another problem is that the best Africans who are trained do not go back to Africa. They stay here in the West. They stay in Germany, or the United States, or in France, or in Britain. They don't go back to Africa to work, because the conditions in Africa are not very conducive for them to work. I mean, we have a lot of we have had a lot of dictatorships in Africa. We have a lot of problems of governance, as you have mentioned, a lot of corruption, of course, as you have mentioned. So there are many people who don't want to go and work in Africa. But I mean, that is changing, as I said. That is changing a lot, and that the environment, the climate for economic development is coming now fast. Because there's a lot of talk about it. There's more democracy now. All the big wars we had in the past are disappearing. And now I think now there are only about 2 or 3 wars on the continent which are significant. But now the other problem that we are facing now is terrorism. In the Horn of Africa, in Somalia, also in West Africa, in Mali, we still have those problems of terrorism now, with all these issues. So we have to. That's why the African Union, for the 0.2% budgets from African governments, they are saying that the light chunk of it will go to peace and security. Because if there is no peace and security, we're going to have energy development on the continent. So peace has to be there, and then the rest will go to the social sector, so education, health, and so on. So that's why we are, that's what is going on right now. But certainly, it will take some time. But I mean, I'm sure that you're a very patient person. You're patient enough to wait, for that long to see that Africa develops. Because if you're really interested in Africa to develop, to work, we will have it. But it will take a bit of time. It's coming. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Him and then you. Yes. Oh.
Yes, I actually have 2 questions. Sorry. Both on the African Development Bank. The New Deal on energy states that energy access will be solved.
Yeah.
So congratulations, that's very, very nice, and I'm sure it will, but I'm just a bit worried about the balance. Now I think 130 million connections on grid and 60 million off grid. Now to me it would appear a bit cheaper to go with a higher share of off-grid solutions. It would be faster as well because, well, on-grid development is very slow and expensive.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
No, I think the reason why they're going for the on-grid with that volume is because of the enormity of the problem. Because the problem is so huge. Can you imagine in a country where in a continent where 90% of African schools do not have electricity? I mean, that is too serious. So I think they are just trying to fast track things. It makes sense anyway. Although what they are saying makes more sense, but it makes sense that they want to fast track, get the on-grid solutions first before they go to the off-grid. I think so. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think the off-grid sector has made remarkable improvements, technical and economical improvements. So these off-grid solutions are really reliable and cheap and fast to deploy. So I would assume that much of the energy access problems will be solved by off-grid solutions, let's say mini-grids or solar home systems.
Yeah.
So, but well, that remains to be seen. But the other question was on one of the other high fives, that's industrialize Africa.
Yes.
Now that will require enormous amounts of energy, and do you think there's a risk that the industry will be competing with the energy with the improved access?
Well, you see, that's why the Light Up on Power Africa is #1 of the high fives. And a lot of attention has been given to that right now. Industrialize is #3 or 4, isn't it? Feed Africa is #2. And then you have Industrialize Africa, then you have Integrate Africa. Then, you have I think so. So, for us to industrialize the continent, you cannot industrialize without power and energy. We have so much resources. Look at the enormous resources. I'll be talking about more about the resources tomorrow. But we have enormous resources on the continent. And we have to know how to make use of them. We have to use them in order to industrialize. Otherwise, how do you industrialize without power?
But in your view, the priority is first to light.
The light.
And then after that, industrialize.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it is going right now, as it is in the high fives.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Dean.
Lawalley, thanks. Yeah, I'm just interested to know what are the practical steps for solving some of these issues. I mean, you said conditions are not conducive in Africa, and I think we're all aware of that. So we're talking today about funding activities. But let's say we can access the funding. What then do you consider to be, for the African Union or the African Development Bank, what are the main areas that should be addressed? I mean,
I think the main area is capacity.
Okay.
Capacity. I think he was mentioning about capacity issues. You see, you can have all the funding in this world, and you don't have the capacity to make things work. They will not work. And that's the problem we are facing right now. And that's why we have so many disjointed activities, lack of coordination, corruption sometimes in the middle of everything else. That's what they're having. I think we need to work to build the capacity. And we start with the education system first. Train our young people, encourage them very well, get them the relevant type of education, so that, and get the education in Africa. We don't have to go to Europe or America to be educated anymore. We have enough people on the continent who can help. Also, of course, we have got our development partners who are helping to develop our institutions. What is important, we have to have very, very strong institutions on the continent, and to get the institution to be functional, to be very, very functional and operating well. Otherwise, I don't know where we're going. So the #1 thing, the key, the answer to this is let's get the capacities well developed, and let us get them functional also. Any other issues? Any questions? Well, okay, then if there are no questions, I thank you very much for this. I'll continue tomorrow to another presentation where I'll be talking about the resources of Africa and how we're going to make sure that they are well governed so we can use them. And some of the questions that you are asked today will also feature tomorrow again. But I think there we have more answers and solutions than we had today. This is a presentation to show the overall picture. I thank you very much.